Hey, hi everybody. Oh my goodness. I must have dropped my chair down. How are you tonight? Let's see if I can fix that for you. And there, that's better. I must have dropped my seat down. Well, it's good to see you. So here I am. It's Gretchen, and I am recording a story for you because those of you who are regulars on my story and art know that I am winging my way to Africa to photograph elephants and leopards and lions and water buffalo and all kinds of wonderful hippos and rhinos. And I'm just, yeah, I've been talking about it all month. And you guys have been very patient with me. But here it is. We are going to have a great time, and but I wanted to still have some stories for you. So for the next few weeks, there'll be some recordings because I am going to be in an area that I can't live stream from, let alone probably have internet coverage. Plus, I think I might be just a little preoccupied. But I still want to bring you some stories. So here I am with one tonight. And this story I've called it Musical Rainbow because it is another one of our wonderful picture book nonfictions and tells the story of someone who most likely most of you have heard of, and have perhaps even heard him play or at least seen him play at different concerts on television. But the book is written by Tracy Newman, and she is writing inspiration comes primarily from her daily adventures and raising her children. Let me show you the screen share here. There. And for Tracy, early morning wake ups, bath time, and car trips are an abundant source of story ideas. And in addition, Tracy can often be heard making up off key rhyming songs to encourage her children to get dressed, eat their dinner, and clean up after themselves. Sounds like something I used to do all the time. She's loved words since she was young and writing too. She was declared class poet in second grade and has always been proud of that title. So she has gone on to write several books, and this is one of her nonfictions. She has a lot of books that are, switch to this, all different kinds of board books, different kind of things on Passover, on Rosh Hashanah, and Shabbat hiccups. I have to read that. That sounds good. And this one, though, that we're reading tonight is called Itzhak, the Boy Who Loved the Violin. The illustrations are by Abigail Halpin. And she says she's been drawing as long as she can remember. And she's happiest with a pencil in her hand, a cup of coffee by her side, and a wish and with an album playing. Her illustration blends traditional and digital media, mixing watercolor, ink, pencil, and collage. She's created illustrations and lettering for a range of clients, including Penguin Random Books, Fabrics, Figo Fabrics, Simon & Schuster, Taproot Magazine, all kinds of things. She's inspired by vintage textiles, folk art, and mystery novels. Pretty cool. I saw her work too. If you look at it, has this really beautiful, really beautiful style to it. It is realistic and with a real kind of almost muted tone on tone color palette. Wonderful work that she's done. Great details on it. So I think you're going to love this book. And let me get this. So I'm excited to share this one for you. So are you ready? because I am, for Itzhak, a boy who loved the violin. I'm going to grab a sip of water and then we're jumping into the story. Here we go. Itzhak. Itzhak, the boy who loved his violin. The story of a young Itzhak Perlman. By Tracy Newman, pictures by Abigail Halpin. The Perlman's tiny apartment seemed ordinary. A single-room walk-up with just one window looking out into traffic of downtown Tel Aviv and no bathroom of its own. Yet a little kitchen radio transformed this simple home. Graceful classical symphonies, lively klezmer folk tunes, soulful cantorial chants, rich melodies and vibrant rhythms filled this home and the ears and soul of the littlest Perlman, transforming baby Itzhak too. When Itzhak listened to music, a vivid rainbow of colors appeared in his mind. Hues from dark green to red to yellow. Music brought Itzhak intense joy and tears. Itzhak loved it. By 3, Itzhak knew he wanted more. He had to make music. Young Itzhak had already chosen the instrument, whose magical sound he loved best. He begged his parents for a violin, but for an immigrant family whose dinner was often a piece of watermelon and some bread, musical instruments were a luxury. Still, Itzhak pestered and pleaded. Finally, his parents bought him a toy violin. At first, little Itzhak laughed with delight, but he quickly recognized that his violin didn't sound like those the master violinists played. His music wasn't clear as Yassa Heifetz, as intense as Isaac Stern's, or as enchanting as Ida Handel's. Disappointed, Itzhak gave it a whack and threw it under the bed. Then the unthinkable happened. Polio swept through Israel. 4-year-old Itzhak became infected with this deadly disease. He lay hospitalized, fighting for his life. After a few weeks, the doctor announced that Itzhak was going to live. But Itzhak's body was weak. He couldn't move his arms or his legs. At least he could go home. There were so many tasks to relearn. Raising his arms over his head, holding a book, grasping a pencil. The work was hard, slow, and painful. Other 4-year-olds might have given up. They might have said no. They might have stopped trying. But a steady melody played inside Itzhak, encouraging, energizing, empowering him. A year of stretching, straightening, and strengthening paid off. Itzhak could move his hands and arms again, but his legs remained paralyzed. Itzhak would always need crutches or braces to walk. Crutches or not, Itzhak didn't just sit in his room. His family moved to the suburbs, enabling Itzhak to get to school on his own. They chose an apartment with stairs so Itzhak could move around easily. They chose an apartment without stairs so Itzhak could move around easily. Crutches even helped his soccer game. To Itzhak, these adjustments were no big deal. When you're 4 years old, you get used to things very, very quickly. Running around the block, riding a bicycle, jumping off a diving board. All these ordinary things Itzhak would never be able to do. But Itzhak made an extraordinary choice. He didn't become sad or angry. He knew the melody inside him gave him a different gift. Music got in his ears, gave him goosebumps, sent a chill through his body. Recognizing his passion, Itzhak's parents bought him a new violin. Crutches meant Itzhak couldn't stand like most violinists, but Itzhak declared, "I don't have to play it standing up. I can play it sitting down." A bigger challenge was his big fingers, fitting them into the small spaces between the strings. Still, he figured out where to place them. Itzhak began studying the violin with a strict and old-fashioned teacher. "Do what I tell you. Don't ask any questions," she said. Itzhak had to practice for 2 or 3 hours every day. Making music filled Itzhak with joy, but practicing didn't. So Itzhak found some unusual ways to manage. Sometimes he would sneak outside watching construction trucks pour cement. Other times he boing, boing, boinged his bow on the strings, only pretending to play. If his parents asked why the room was so quiet, Itzhak explained that he was perfecting a new method, practicing inside his head. Yet, young Itzhak developed exceptional skills, including his brilliantly bouncy staccato, his vivid and varied vibrato, his speedy staccato strokes, playful pizzicato plucking, and smooth, slow legato. Itzhak's secret? He talked to the music, imagining the personality of the piece, what it looked like, what it felt, what it meant. His way of living, breathing, becoming the melody transformed his music into something extraordinary. At 6, Itzhak was performing with orchestras in Israel. By the age of 10, he was giving solo performances. Itzhak's warmth, joy, and enthusiasm became well known. Some people doubted that a violinist could play well sitting down. Itzhak knew he could. Later he explained, "I can't walk very well, but I'm not on stage to do walking. I'm on the stage to play." Obstacles were ordinary thing Itzhak just had to get used to. But the irresistible melodies vibrating inside his head propelled and fortified him. And so he refused to give up. At 11, he wrote to the National Symphonic Orchestra, the Israel Philharmonic. "I hereby request that you give me an audition to play. I have the following pieces ready. Please answer as soon as possible. Sincerely, Itzhak Perlman." Itzhak waited and waited, but the Philharmonic never replied or responded. Then came an extraordinary opportunity. The world-famous variety television show host Ed Sullivan, whose show was watched by millions of families each week, traveled to Israel. Mr. Sullivan was looking for new acts, so Itzhak auditioned. Itzhak later admitted that he played pretty well for Mr. Sullivan. Mr. Sullivan agreed. He invited Itzhak to come to the United States and perform on his show. Knowing just 4 words of English, mother, father, and good morning, 13-year-old Itzhak boarded a plane with his mother for New York City. Wow. On November 2nd, 1958, Itzhak sat on the stage of the Ed Sullivan Theater, smiled his broad smile, propped his violin under his chin and began to play. Watching the young, round-faced boy, the audience became mesmerized. Within days, bags full of letters poured into the show, begging for Itzhak to perform again. His life would never again be ordinary. The author's note. Itzhak performed on the Ed Sullivan Show 5 more times, and together with an Israeli magician and a hand show artist, joined Ed Sullivan's Cavalcade of Stars on a 2-month tour of the United States. Recognizing Itzhak's talent and passion, the American Israel Cultural Foundation offered him a scholarship to live in the United States and study music. Itzhak enrolled at the Juilliard School of Music and began studying with master violin teachers. His hard work continued and grew in many new ways, learning English, adjusting to a new country, and to a large and unfamiliar city. Help came from Itzhak's teachers who nurtured the young man and his gift. What set Itzhak apart from the beginning was his sheer talent and enormous imagination. Itzhak was on a kind of creative high that has never let up. He thrived at Juilliard. After graduating, he went on to win the Leventritt competition, a prestigious international violin competition. The prize was $1,000, professional representation, and a chance to perform for 6 orchestras across the United States. Both audiences and critics realized Itzhak's violin playing was extraordinary. When he was just 24, the New York Times declared, "It would be difficult to name half a dozen violinists of any age anywhere who are his equals in both virtuosity and artistry." Even so, the challenges continued. When it was time to have a career, then people had questions. They had to prove that the quality of what I had to offer was the highest level. And to develop an international reputation for his violin playing, Itzhak had to travel the world on crutches. Performing in concert halls that lacked ramps or elevators was a frequent challenge, Itzhak admitted. "It's like they're telling you, 'Here are our stairs and you're not welcome here.'" Still, Itzhak remained determined to demonstrate that he was capable of being a professional musician. "I know all the freight and garbage elevators in the major music halls of the world. I've stayed in makeshift dressing rooms that had to be built for me because the real dressing room was on the 2nd floor." Itzhak's first-hand knowledge of the difficulties faced by people with physical disabilities motivated him to make things better. He is dedicated to improving access to public buildings, including hotels, airports, and concert halls. "It's not a hobby that I happen to do when I'm not playing violin," he said of his championing of the handicapped. "It's part of what my life is about." Itzhak is also an advocate for children with special needs. He serves on the boards of hospitals for disabled children, both in the United States and Israel, visits wheelbound chair children, and plays benefit concerts in the wards. In addition, he has appeared on television shows such as Sesame Street using his crutches. Invited to perform with the country and world's best orchestra, Itzhak has proven himself to be a world-class violinist. In 1967, he recorded his first 2 albums. He received the first of 16 Grammy Awards in 1971. In addition, television documentaries recorded several of Itzhak's international concerts, which went on to receive Emmy Awards. Itzhak's charisma, talent, and good nature helped spread his fame beyond the classical music world. Besides playing violin, his appearances on dozens of television shows, serving as a product spokesperson, and recording a solo for the Oscar-winning soundtrack of the film Schindler's List have all made him an international celebrity. 3 presidents of the United States have honored Itzhak with medals for his accomplishments. He performs, conducts orchestras, and teaches students. Itzhak Perlman is widely considered the world's best violinist. Ah. And the illustrator says, one of my first memories of violin, and by extension Itzhak Perlman, was via the children's television program Sesame Street. I was mesmerized by his playing and knew that someday I too wanted to play the violin. But when I finally did take lessons, I faced the rude discovery, like Itzhak, that the violin is hard to play. Really hard, like throw the violin under your bed hard. The violin in the hands of a beginner squeaks and squawks. It feels confusing and counterintuitive. Completely exasperated, I gave up on the violin after only a year of lessons. Many years later, as an adult, looking for a creative outlet, my mind flitted back to my teenage misadventures with the violin. On a whim, I signed up for lessons. Learning violin as an adult was no easier than it had been as a teenager, but armed with zero expectations and a wonderful teacher. Something clicked the second time around. I'm so glad to have given that frustrating, beautiful, intriguing instrument another chance. In illustrating Itzhak, I borrowed from my own experiences with the violin. Throughout the book, I've used excerpts from Bach's Double Violin Concerto, the Concerto for two violins in D minor, in many of the illustrations. There is a magical recording of Itzhak Perlman and Isaac Stern performing this piece, which I listen to frequently while illustrating. And because it's a piece I played once at a recital, it gave me a personal connection to the music. I frequently found myself humming the notes as I drew them. I also included portions of Mendelssohn's Violin Concerto, the piece that Itzhak played on the Ed Sullivan Show. The recordings of his performance are an absolute delight to watch. Itzhak's enthusiasm is infectious. While I chose to illustrate Itzhak initially because of my experience with the violin, that reason was quickly superseded by the inspiration I found entering into Itzhak Perlman's story. I am in awe of Mr. Perlman's talent and determination, inspired by his love of family, and I take hope in the joy his playing brings to so very many. To be able to illustrate that kind of a man's story is an experience for which I am truly grateful. Oh. That has his debut, 1958 was the Ed Sullivan Show. 63, debut at the Carnegie Hall. He got married in 67. Awarded a Medal of Liberty by President Reagan in 86. Awarded his first of 4 Emmy Awards. 92. Violin soloist for John Williams Academy Award-winning musical score for Schindler's List. He began teaching at the Perlman Music Program in 94. 99, started teaching at Juilliard. National Medal of Arts by President Bill Clinton in 2000. Dorothy Richards Sterling Chair honored. President Barack Obama Medal of Freedom. And Israel's Genesis Prize laureate. Wow. Great bibliography, too, with this book of what goes on with what. And the illustrations, and that she put the music into the illustrations, are just fabulous. We have to go back and look. Oh, look at that. So if you play music, you could probably play the notes and know what it was. That's fabulous. Oh my gosh. Well, I don't play the violin. I would have been the squeaker squawker. I took 8 years of piano. I love piano, but I do love violin also. That's played really beautifully. And I love listening to Itzhak Perlman. Oh my gosh. Well, I hope you guys like that book. It was a good one to kick off, I think, for you for my trip. That I'll be gone. And I hope to bring you several more and keep looking for them. They're all going to be set up as premieres so you guys can chat with each other and see how things are going. I will, if I'm anywhere near internet and near time zone, I might be able to drop in occasionally, but I think I'm going to be maybe when this is on, it's going to be either dawn and I'll probably be out. So who knows? But I will be having an amazing time and I will come back with pictures to show. But in the meantime, I'm leaving you with stories each night. So until next time, keep looking for the beauty hidden in plain sight. It's all around you. It's in this group that's listening. And if you're new to the group, welcome. I hope you're saying hi to everybody. This is an amazing community of people who love art and who love these stories. And I have been given the privilege of sharing them with you and sharing my passion for children's books. So, like I said, keep looking for the beauty hidden in plain sight. It's all around you. You'll find it first in your mirror. And until next time.
All we need is a place to be and a few good friends for some company. If you'd like to stay, you don't have to leave. We'll leave the lights on and the door unlocked. If you drop on by, you don't have to knock. We're happy to share whatever we've got.